Hello, I'm Avery or Hazel or Kylie. You can just pick one, I don't care.
Hello, I am Lily.
And welcome to the From the Closet podcast. Today we are covering Ant-Man, the 2015 movie, not Ant-Man and the Wasp, and not Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania,
That,
especially considering that one hasn't come out.
yeah,
Um,
no. When is that supposed to come out?
I can check. Uh, but anyway, this
Hmm.
podcast will contain spoilers for Ant-Man. And so yeah, if you okay, it's supposed to come out next year at some point.
Ooh, how fun.
Yeah. Um, so you will find a link in the description to Just Watch, which will have all of the places that you can rent, purchase, or stream this movie. Our link is to the U.S. version of the Just Watch page, but the if you use the app, it will automatically redirect you to your country. And if you use the website, you'll be able to change the country from the website page itself. Also, in the description is a link to our Patreon, where you can get access to episodes of this show early, as well as access to early episodes of our sister show, Off the Shelf, which is about books. The first episode of that show recently released on YouTube. Oh, yeah, it's exclusive to YouTube and Patreon. I should have said that. Um, but yeah, so the first episode of that has recently released on YouTube
I
at the
mean, it
time of
wouldn't
this
be
recording.
recently anymore. This episode is coming out in January.
Yeah, but I mean, it's relatively recent. I
Relative. Yeah,
mean,
I guess you're right.
but by then, by the time this episode does release, episode 2 of Off the Shelf should be on Patreon. I haven't recorded it yet. I'm gonna do that tomorrow, probably.
Woo! Let's go.
Um, that one's gonna be on the Hunger Games. I know I promised that one was gonna be on Poison by Chris Wooding, but it's not gonna be on that.
Heh.
But regardless, that I think I did not cover everything. Yeah. Also in the description is a link to Anchor.fm where you can find links to every single platform that this podcast is on, as well as links to our Instagram and Twitter where you can be notified when we release a new video or new episode. Not necessarily video because I mean there is a video version of this podcast, but most platforms it's audio.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm responsible of uploading it all.
yeah, I'm just responsible for the editing of the audio, and I suck at it.
My
But yeah,
The worst part about releasing the video, just like, okay, I can get all the audio stuff done. Everything Anchor is done. Now let's see how the rendering is going. 15%. Oh,
yeah, video rendering it's slow, especially for longer videos like this. Just be glad there's not a lot of elements to the video that would make it take even longer.
oh
Because
god,
like
yeah.
usually there's only like 4 elements to the videos. There's just the movie image, there's the image of your avatar, there's the image of my avatar, and then there's the audio.
I've been getting pretty good at that. Just selecting all of them. Though, at the beginning, I had to remember to, select it, then deselect everything to add something else. Or else then it would
Yeah.
just get added into the same column, which I didn't want.
Yeah, it can be it can be a learning curve to get used to editing software. But yeah, also you can join us next week for X2, X-Men United, and what was the other movie? God damn it! Uh, I can't fucking remember. I'm bringing up the schedule. Uh,
While I'm stalling, I just wanted to say when you said that, the only thing I can think of X2 X harder.
oh my God, Lily. Okay, the other movie is The Greatest Showman. So yeah, you can join us next week for X2 and The Greatest Showman. So yeah, look forward to that. With all that being said, please get out of here if you'd like to avoid spoilers because we're going to start talking about the movie now.
Ooh. the movie.
So, so this movie had a really, really rough development history.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, well, people kept leaving the project. I don't know why. I never bothered to look too deeply into it, but basically it was just one leave after another, after another, after another, to the point where this movie got delayed so much. This movie was supposed to release during phase one.
Oh, Jesus.
And yeah, and here it is releasing at the end of phase
So
two.
that's why is at the end of phase two and
Yeah.
not like the last movie at the end of phase two.
The sad thing, to me, the sad thing, at least in my opinion, is that one of the people that left the project
Hmm.
was Edgar Wright. He was going to be the director for this movie, and he was the director for Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Aw.
There are some scenes in this movie that definitely feel like they have that Edgar Wright flair to them. In one scene in particular that I can remember is when the toy Thomas the Tank Engine rams into Yellow Jacket, and then it just cuts away, and you see the toy train falling over.
That was great, honestly.
Yeah, it's just it. There's a lot of Edgar Wright type things that I really enjoy. Transitions and stuff, but unfortunately he left the project, and the film ended up being directed by Peyton Reed, who did a good job. And like, there's some movies where I would say like you can feel the development struggles. Frozen is one of those movies. This is not one of those movies.
Honestly, no,
You
I
don't
did
really
not
feel it.
feel like once you explain it to me, like I can see it, but when actually watching it, it really did just feel like an average movie. Like,
Yeah, I will say it is a bit like it's a bit weird getting another origin story in the same style as what we got with Iron Man and Captain America all the way here at the end of phase two. That's just weird. Like, yes, we have another origin story coming soon with Doctor Strange,
mhm.
but that movie has a very different style, I think. Um, Whereas here we have like pretty much the exact same Iron Man formula.
So wait, was Ant-Man supposed to be in the original Avengers movie?
As far as I know, probably yeah.
Oh my god. Imagine that timeline though.
Yeah, imagine that timeline. It's almost like the MCU has already tried to imagine that timeline
Really?
with yeah, with a musical.
Oh my god. Okay then.
Yeah, it's something. Rogers the musical.
No, I just
I wish
imagine
it.
Ant-Man and Age of Ultron like just going inside robots to just take them down from the inside.
Yeah. Um, so other things too. This movie, like, it's our first instance of like actually seeing like co-parenting in any movie that we've covered.
Oh yeah.
At least I'm fairly certain it is.
Um there is something you can say about Infinity Train season 1.
I wouldn't say that one because we don't really see the dad do any parenting.
I didn't really see anyone do anything. Because
Yeah,
hmm,
this movie and also its sequel that will come out in like a while. They really do co-parenting quite well. I think it's really nice. They handle the tension between the dad and the stepdad quite well. The tension between the dad and the mom. And I'm like,
I mean, there's
it. Part
already
of me does.
tension there because of the The stepdad's like a police officer.
Yeah, and the dad is an ex-con.
Yeah.
So like, but yeah, like I don't know. Part of me does get a little annoyed at the mom. Like, dude, cut him a break. He's an ex-con. It's kind of hard to get a job,
Yeah.
and it's his daughter's birthday. Like, come on, give give him at least this day. No, like, but it's like she does need the child support, and that I get, but like, cut him a little bit of slack, Jesus. I mean, technically, he could have been arrested for showing up, so I guess there's that. But
Yeah. Just
I, I don't know, just cut him a little more slack. That's all. Like, I don't know, just to me, it just kind of felt it rubbed me the wrong way. It's not a problem with the movie. It's just, come on, character, really?
yeah. I also like the instance where he put on the Ant-Man suit and then there was just a voice talking to him.
Ah, yes, Hank Pym. Speaking of Hank Pym, the CGI when they de-aged Michael Douglas, the guy who plays Hank Pym,
Hmm.
in the scene that's supposed to take place in '89, really doesn't look the best. I
No,
mean,
not
it's not
really.
awful. It's not awful, but like it's it's certainly not what we saw in Elf, but it's not the best.
Hmm.
But I don't think de-aging can ever really truly work well.
Not something
But
you'd want to do with your direction of
yeah,
movies.
I do also love how they referenced it later. That scene
Hmm.
where the guy who had made the comment about his wife uh, was like, he saw him later and he was like, "How are you?" And Hank was like, "How's your face?"
Lol. That's
Yeah, it
actually my
was
favorite part.
just great. I think one of my favorite jokes in this movie was like when Yellow Jacket was like, "I'm going to disintegrate you," and then the phone is like, "Playing Disintegration by The Cure."
Okay, that was also a good moment. Any moment that had Thomas the Tank Engine, beautiful, perfect.
Pretty much anything with Luis, also perfect. I'm hearing your siblings.
That
Um,
um God damn it. Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
did that leak? Did that leak into your audio?
While you were talking a little bit, but you would have been mopping up everything, so it would be hard to hear.
We'll see. I mean, I can still hear them, so
Yeah,
there's
I mean,
that.
you can hear a lot better than my computer can hear.
Yeah, but the thing is, so Luis is, as I was saying, Luis is just funny character all around. I love how he supposedly got arrested for stealing two smoothie machines. Why the hell would you need more than one?
As for two flavors, obviously.
Ah, yes, two flavors. I also love that, like when he's talking about like the chain where he's like hearing information. I love when you see all these other actors talking and doing like his mannerisms. It's just so funny, especially when you see Falcon doing it.
I'm sorry, there's just like
Just
nothing better in my brain than big Thomas the Tank Engine crashing through the house.
yeah, and there's also just like I guess it's worth saying, but it's not really a con of this movie because they're adapting the source material.
Hmm.
But the physics surrounding Ant-Man have never been consistent at all.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so the problem is like the explanation that the movie gives is that the Pym particles shrink the distance between atoms.
Okay.
Okay, so how does Ant-Man go subatomic? You can't get smaller than an atom by shrinking the distance between atoms.
Oh. Huh.
So there's that. You're also supposed to remain as heavy, small as you were when normal sized. Problem? They don't hold true to this. For one, the giant ant should realistically just float away. The tank engine thing, probably that too. The tank, which was on a keychain, should realistically be tearing a hole through his pocket and crashing to the floor.
I love
And
this.
I don't know.
Sorry, I just love the point where you just said this is not a keychain.
Yeah. Like, the physics is really inconsistent.
And you say
That's
that this is
that's
a
the point I'm
problem of
making.
the comics, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's a problem of the comics, and then therefore by extension, it's a thing to point out for the movie.
Yeah, and there's nothing the movie can really do about it. They have to follow the messy logic of the superhero and just run with it, and they did, honestly.
Yeah. So some other things too. We get to see uh, Hank Pym used to be an agent of Shield.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, like he talks about it. He talks about how he would go on missions with Shield, and apparently his wife was a Shield agent as well. Just remember that they were Shield agents.
Why
Remember that.
is this going to be important for Agents of Shield?
No, at
Agent
least not to my
Carter.
knowledge. No, at least not to my knowledge. It's going to be important for What If.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I love that this is mentioned, and then we also see Hydra agents in this movie.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing I was going to mention. Seeing Hydra agents in this movie is just so interesting.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where like I get really really annoyed with people who say that Hydra died after Winter Soldier, because even if you just go off of the movies, that's not true. We see Hydra again in both Age of Ultron and in Ant-Man.
Where was it in Age of Ultron? I forgot.
The very beginning of the movie,
Oh,
they're raiding a
right.
Hydra
Yeah, you're
base.
right. Yeah. It was raiding
um,
Hydra base. And
yeah.
I like how flawlessly they do it too. Because Hydra is they're seeking out more ground, they're seeking out more weapons.
I also love that it's a joke in Age of Ultron, but I love that joke early on in Age of Ultron where it's like, can you hold them? They're the Avengers.
And then
But yeah,
in this movie, literally goes into an Avenger base and beat up someone.
yeah, beats the fuck out of Falcon, who I'm certain was the only one there because he was the only actor they could afford.
Yikes. Oh wait, wasn't
Because
there
I mean,
wait, there was a joke in this movie about Ultron. Like, what are the Avengers doing? They're making cities fall or something like that.
yeah, so basically, Scott suggests that they should call the Avengers for this sort of threat. And this movie is one of the few standalone superhero movies that does a good job at explaining why it deserves to be a standalone. A lot of them don't really do a good job explaining that. Um, but with this, it's like Hank Pym really wants to keep this under wraps.
Not only that, I don't even think he likes the Avengers as well.
I wouldn't say so, especially after events that happen later.
Yeah, like the way he talks about them is very
I think in
interesting.
particular, I think in particular it's Tony Stark he doesn't
Oh yeah,
like.
no, he talks badly about Stark mostly about this movie. Oh yeah, that's right. He even says that he would not, he spent his entire time keeping his suit out of the hands of a Stark. He wouldn't want to just, come go waltzing in, handing it to another.
Yeah, like, and I don't even necessarily think it's because he dislikes Tony. It's that he's just distrustful because of his experiences with Tony's father, which also just I gotta say, good on Howard Stark for recognizing, hey, we probably just shouldn't antagonize Hank Pym,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
the
so
one.
he doesn't.
Hmm. Yeah, the one thing that he doesn't do. Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking. He doesn't like. I don't think he ever met Tony, to be honest.
Uh,
But he just
as far
has
as I
a very resentful taste of Howard Stark.
yeah, and to be fair, I don't know if Hank does ever meet Tony.
Hmm. Though, I mean, to be fair, doesn't freaking Tony Stark have a resentment of Howard Stark as well?
In some ways, yes.
Interesting.
It just, but yeah. I also really love Hope. I love the setup for her becoming the Wasp. Hope and Scott's relationship has an interesting development. I always really enjoy the um, enemies to friends to lovers. I always think it's really cool.
I like
I
this
I
one a bit because it doesn't end with them, oh, we love each other so much. Oh, we're gonna get married tomorrow.
yeah, no. Even where we are currently with the MCU, it's not like that. Um, but yeah, I will say though, I think the best implementation of enemies to friends to lovers in fiction ever is Percy and Annabeth.
Yeah. Well, I always forget that they're enemies, to be honest.
I mean, more like rivals,
Yeah,
but yeah.
like, they're at the same league of, like, the Pokemon rivals.
Mm, I don't know if I'd say that. I mean, Annabeth literally used him as bait for Clarice
Oh, yeah.
in one of in one of their first interactions.
I mean, Percy was fine. Just,
She didn't know he was going to be fine.
yeah. Then again, Clarice did just do the number one mistake, push Percy in water.
Yeah. But
Well,
we're
see if he
talking about
drowns.
something
Rises up again with all of his wounds healed. Oh, fuck.
yeah, but we're talking about Percy Jackson now, so let's get on to Ant-Man. Um, One thing that I'll definitely talk about in our MCU Phase 2 retrospective is that I feel like this movie just has not this movie, this phase
Hmm.
just has no direction. Like in Phase 1, it was very clearly building up to the Avengers the entire time.
Yeah.
This movie, there's not a build up to Age of Ultron. There's not a build up to Ant-Man. It's just these things are happening. And oh yeah, a couple of these movies have Infinity Stones.
I
That's
think,
it.
like, we're getting the build up to phase 3. Phase 2 is just like the intergrade between phase 1 and phase 3.
Yeah. And it feels like, I don't know, part of me feels like Captain America Winter Soldier was far more important for Marvel television than it was for the actual movies. That's just the feeling
Yeah.
I get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Winter Soldier does set up a few things. One,
Yeah, it sets up that Shield officially no longer exists.
yeah, no, Winter Soldier, Shield does not exist. Shield is no more. Wink.
Yeah,
Like, why are you
and
winking? Oh, I don't know. This is a fun thing. His Shield is no more. Wink, wink.
and it also sets up Bucky and Falcon. Um, so
Oh yeah, that
those
too.
characters, yeah, those characters exist.
Could
Uh,
also get beaten up by the ant.
yeah, and then we will see them both in the next movie.
Yay, beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, again.
Yay, it's the Avengers all over again.
I think Ant-Man and Falcon are on the same side in the next movie. Um,
I was just talking about like in general, the Avengers are beating the shit out of each other again.
yeah, because we had that whole scene in the first Avengers movie where it was like Thor versus Hulk, and then in Age of Ultron we had Iron Man versus Hulk. Um, Unfortunately,
Wasn't
Captain America the
wait, yeah, wasn't Tony and Captain America also fighting each other as well?
uh no uh Thor fought Tony
Okay, I
and
think I was thinking
Cap,
about
but
Thor and versus Iron Man.
yeah, Thor versus Iron Man and Captain America. That was an
You
interesting
know,
fight.
for being a team, I think that they're beating the shit out of each other a bit too much.
Yeah, and also nobody's getting hurt.
Hmm. You know, I just also
And
realized that as well.
I don't know. It's a they finally do kind of tackle that a bit in the next movie. Um, I guess spoiler: somebody gets hurt.
Ooh. Though, I mean, I can't exactly say like who would even get her against Iron Man versus Thor. Like, it really, you think Thor getting hurt?
Yeah, realistically, who would get hurt between those two? Iron Man, easy.
Yeah,
But
Iron Man can just run
Iron Man
away though.
he can pretty well hold his own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I also really like the low stakes of this movie. Well, it's not really low stakes, but they're not saving the world from an Avengers level threat. It's just, yeah, this is a heist movie somehow.
Hmm. I mean,
You know, there were.
there
Go
was
ahead.
pretty there's a lot of threats in this movie if it got as bad as it did, like as it could have.
Yeah. That it kind of reminds me of Mission Impossible in a way.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah,
the whole heist thing.
because this movie
But yeah,
could have gone real bad real quick if Hydra of all people got their hands on that tech.
oh yeah. It's I'm very curious what happens after this point in Agents of Shield.
Oh yeah. Um that's another thing I want to look at. Because since Agents of Shield and the release of these movies are in sync, I would really wonder how like the next phase works with Agents of Shield.
Yeah, I do too. I will say I do know that the way that they handle a certain thing that happens in Avengers Infinity War
Hmm.
is kind of the most cop out crap I've ever seen.
So, but I believe, and they did something that we can't. Fuck. I'm sorry.
I'm
But like from now on, there's not like we need to hit this movie to watch this season of Shield, right? It's just all on Agents of Shield now.
Well, see, the way I see it, with the rate that we're going through the Marvel movies, I don't think we're ever going to even run into that problem.
Hmm. Because I feel like they would want to have. At least I just thought that that's what it was when you were explaining Agents of Shield to me.
Yeah, like especially considering that we're going to have to cover Agent Carter and Inhumans. I don't think we're going to have to run into that
Hmm.
problem at all.
When are we hitting
But
Infinity War anyway?
sometime next year.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah.
Actually, I saw sometime next year. It's like, oh no, it's gonna be so long. Oh wait,
That
liter.
is if we can get our hands on Spider-Man Homecoming first,
Oh, that's true.
cuz
Yeah.
that's still a concern. We don't have access to that movie yet.
Oh,
But yeah,
oh well.
I'm reminded of a recent YouTube poll that was like uh talking about the superhero genre,
Hmm.
and I can't remember what the question was, but the whole idea of the superhero genre is like they were asked. I think they were asking like, why is it still around, and do you think it's still going to be like as big in the next 10 years or so?
Hmm.
Um, and I think one of the answers that really stuck out to me was that like the superhero genre has stuck around not only because it speaks to an innate desire that everyone has to feel special and stuff,
Hmm.
and you get to see that on screen, but also the genre itself is so versatile. You can have a psychological thriller like with Joker. You can have action comedy like with MCU movies. You can have drama. You can have like all kinds of different superhero movies. Like Joker and Ant-Man are both superhero movies, but they are both wildly different.
It's definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And I
like MCU movies. I prefer more over than like definitely something like Superman. I'll see how like the other people like Green Lantern and all of them compare, but I like the
I
MCU ways of these characters are struggles. They don't just get born with powers unless you're Thor.
yeah, and
Even
even then
Thor
Thor
and yeah, Thor has like thousands of years of combat experience.
yeah. So
This and and this not just comedy central, but I would say dialogue central as well. Not everything has to be straight action, whereas what I see with, or I guess what I would expect with superhero movies when I was younger, and that's why I never got into it.
yeah. So I definitely would say that I've pretty much gotten through everything that I wanted to talk about with this movie. Um,
I've talked
so we
about
should
everything other
definitely
than
be,
this movie, but okay.
I mean, I don't know. I really also appreciate like the ant, uh, everything they did with the ants. Like even that whole scene where the ants are kind of like surfing on water. That's actually accurate. Ants really do that,
Oh, really?
and it looks yeah, and it looks terrifying.
Huh. I don't know. Like, that was cool, really great scene. I don't know how I would be able to handle if that was happening in real life.
Yeah, it's horrifying. But yeah, uh,
Also,
great
actually,
movie.
wait,
Love the
there's one
comedy.
more thing I want to say. I don't know how they made it and so cute, and also, we need vengeance for Anthony.
Yes, vengeance for Anthony. I mean, granted, I mean, uh, the cross kind of died, so
We
there's
need
your
more,
vengeance.
destroy. We need to kill Hydra for Anthony.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see that happen. I don't know, because I don't know what happens to Hydra after Agents of Shield season 3.
Interesting. God, how did they make me feel for an ant? I do not know.
Yeah. I probably should have said this. I love Cassie. For one, she's one of my favorite Marvel characters, like in the comics,
Hmm.
and I'm really excited to see the day when they finally give her her powers. Because God, I want to see that. I want to see the Young Avengers so bad,
Okay then.
but I don't know. They've seemed to have been teasing the Young Avengers quite a lot, and I think it really all started with having Cassie here.
Okay, well, I think with that out of the way, we're ready for critics.
Yeah. So IMDb gives this movie a 7.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 83%, and 87% of Google users like the movie.
Okay. I throughout the podcast, I think I finally settled on something, which would be a 7.8.
Hey, what do you know? I'm also giving it 7.8. We both agree this movie has too much water.
Oh my god. Too much
Because
ant surfing.
yeah, and then there's also the bathtub scene and the sinks, I guess.
Sink. Oh,
But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It's just kind of hard to stack it up against all the other MCU movies that we've gotten thus far, especially Winter Soldier, because Winter Soldier was so good.
Winter Soldier had everything though.
Like I'm already gonna say it. Winter Soldier is going to be my number one when we cover our retrospective. Like that movie is one of the best MCU movies ever made.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say second best out of all the movies, only behind
However,
Infinity War.
I think that's about it for us.
Yeah. Until next time, I've been Avery. That's been Lily, and we will be seeing you in court.